welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Ian Carlos Crawford, and joining me for this Patreon episode, he is actor and whatever the version of Boy Witch is.
Ian Collins.
Hi. And he is a pizza bagel, one of my Instagram boyfriends, and my thirst trap king.
Joe Carollo.
Hi. So both of you, this is exciting. It's your first time. I love having first time guests. Although Joe, it really feels like it's not your first time because I don't know.
It's adjacent to my first time. Because I've done a Slayerfest 98 activities.
Yes.
It's
Joe,
not the proper podcast.
Joe is kind enough to let me objectify him and him come to the shows.
For the sake of art.
Yeah, for the sake of art, which I appreciate. But so Joe, do you want to go first with your Buffy origin?
Oh, I would love to. Okay. I watched Buffy the first time it aired for the first episode in 1997. I was 6 years old.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And it was such an awakening for me on so many levels. Just seeing, I never saw, obviously I was only 6 years old, so I never saw anything like it. I still haven't seen anything quite like it. It was my sexual awakening. I remember watching her interactions with Angel and thinking, I'm so much more interested in him than I am with her. Something is not right here. We'll revisit that at a different podcast. And I was just obsessed ever since. I read every book, read every article, got every magazine. I would look up pictures of David Boreanaz and try to style my hair like him.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, and it just became such a part of my life.
I love that, Joe. I don't think I knew that.
I don't think I ever told you that. No.
Yeah, that's wild. Also, 6 years old. I was like, God, how much younger than me are you? And then I was like, okay, not that much younger, actually. Ian, do you want to give us your Buffy origin?
Yeah, sure. I definitely didn't have my sexual awakening at 6, but Buffy came into my life at grade 4. I just moved to a new school. I remember it specifically. And, I was part of the Freaks and Geeks crew. So I think that's why it spoke to me so much. I obviously bonded with Buffy with the little riffs and the power that she had. But I think I mostly responded to the Willows and the Xanders because that's how I saw myself. Yeah.
But so how did we feel revisiting? We're here to talk about Gingerbread for the episode's 25th anniversary. Joe, how'd you feel revisiting it?
I really liked it. So I rewatched it yesterday in preparation for this, and I haven't watched it in a while. And really, pretty much with me, I could drop into any episode of Buffy and get into the mindset of what's happening in the season. But it really holds up, I think, as a standalone episode.
Yeah.
You don't need to really know that much of the main plot.
Yeah.
Except for, I guess, they just came off the heels of Willow and Xander hooking up. So it's like, oh, right, that just happened.
Right, yeah.
And, like, the mayor is in it only for, 2 seconds. But I think that is the first time Buffy and Mayor Wilkins are ever in the same room together.
Yeah. Which is wild, right? Because we're at this point, it's almost halfway through, or
right.
Through the season,
and you've only seen him in his office, really, and doing things in the shadows, and he's never interacted with the main character before.
Yeah. Ian, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with Joe. Just to add on it, I think I usually miss this one in my rewatch every year. But in my brain, I always thought it was a bigger Amy episode or a Willow episode. But the people that stood out weren't the people that I remembered. Like, there was a few scenes with Giles and Cordelia that I was like, I want more of that. So I think there was a few surprises because I must miss this one regularly. I like this episode a lot, but I think it's something that I remember differently from the last time I watched it. So it was good to rewatch.
No, that makes sense. I feel like, so I don't do full rewatches. I mean, probably also because of this podcast, but I'll revisit the standalone episodes are what I revisit. Or if I have time for an arc, I'll do Becoming Part 1 and 2 or the end of season 5. But this is actually a go-to episode of mine because I think it's like, because it is so like easy breezy, it's fucking fun. Wait, a thing I also wanted to point out, I don't know if either of you two notice it. This episode doesn't have a lull, really. Like,
Correct.
we start and like, you know, the opening is Joyce joining Buffy to slay with the like help her slay and whatever, and she sees the kids, and then it's just like full force into the plot, which I
jump right
love.
into it.
Yeah,
the kids are dead. What are we gonna do about it?
Yeah, because it's like this is the plot, and it's before the credits, and then after the credits, it's full force into how do we save the children, which I love, and I feel like is oddly still relevant to how like if this episode were how Joyce would be normally, she would absolutely be like ultra Republican, like.
Oh, absolutely. Let me tell you something. If you know how we all use the metaphor of being a Slayer and being gay.
Yeah.
If we're keeping with that metaphor, this is Joyce coming to drag brunch.
Yes.
she's trying to embrace it. She's going to see what it's all about. And it turns out she sees that the gays are doing drugs. She's not really about it.
That is,
and still find
really
a way to put advice in there behind you, or
Yes.
Right.
That's really accurate. Post credits, we saw the symbol on the kid's hands, which now that I'm thinking of it, pop quiz. Can one of you explain what, I don't remember why the symbol was on the kid's hand. I know that it's Willow doing it, like for protection. But
I think that was just the demon plotting and putting in their heads like, an occult symbol. It's like meant to be like a pentagram.
Okay. This season has some really good like edit cuts, and I guess Buffy does in general, but this season they're like top tier. I love Buffy, like her mom's freaking out, and she's kind of like telling her mom she promises she'll make it okay, and she's like, you just need to calm down. And then we cut to the library of her saying, don't tell me to calm down, to Giles.
I love it.
It's so good.
We have to do something.
And we have to talk about how good Giles looks in that suit. Oh my God, he looks phenomenal in that scene.
You know, I feel like that's when he's wearing the like gray vest with the suit, right?
Yeah, 3-piece with like the candy stripe. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah.
Season 3 is a good season for Giles. He's very comfortable in his skin.
Yes.
And he's really starting to get that, like, after being tortured by Drusilla, it's like, I have my sex appeal. I have myself.
He found himself after getting tortured by Drusilla. The thing I also like that I'm sure is very on purpose is, like what I said was like earlier, how about the like kids being murdered in Sunnydale doesn't feel like that should be a thing that they're used to. And Giles very much kind of is like that, right? He's like, okay, what was a symbol? Okay, yeah, let's look into that. Oh yeah, okay. Like he's kind of like
too nonchalant.
Yeah, but that makes sense for someone who like knows about all the demons and stuff and like is kind of like, yeah, I'm not going to panic. Like, I don't want to upset the like teens more, as the like kind of the only sensible adult on the show at this point. Like, it makes sense that he would be more calming about it than like panic mode. Because Giles, I mean, not that Giles ever goes into panic mode, because he rarely does. But yeah, so he kind of like asked her what the symbol looked like, asked her if it was a vampire, and she's like, oh no, there was a symbol on their hand. She draws it. She draws it for him.
Doesn't she try to draw it on a 20th century note as well, like a very old paper? And he stops her and he's like, no, that's 20th century, 12th century something rather. And she's like, oh, yeah.
Which is very Buffy.
Very.
So then she's like, oh, someone with a soul did this. And he tells Buffy, like, she's maybe letting it become personal because of her mother. And she says it absolutely is. And I like that. I like that Giles, not only is he, and I mean, I feel like, especially as adults, right? We can appreciate Giles way more than we did as like kids watching the show.
Mm-hmm.
Because I notice things like that where it's like, is being fatherly, not just in like a nice older guy kind of way, but like, he knows that she's upset about it. He understands that her mother's upset about it. And that makes it like different immediately rather than just a regular like murder because her mom was affected by it. And he kind of understands that, right? And he's like, you know, let's not get too personal about it. We got to still do what we always do. And Buffy understandably is emotional about it because of like her mom being involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we come to the cafeteria. A thing that I have noticed this season that I almost wish we got a little more of was Xander and Oz together. And not because I love Xander or anything, but because I love Oz, and I think they are a good pairing.
Oh, they're so funny together.
Right?
Mm,
It's almost
they are.
It's almost like pairing Giles and Cordelia because they're so opposite. And Oz like is the fucking cool guy and is just like chill and isn't putting on any like that's just how he is, right?
Oh yeah, I love that scene of the two of them at the cafeteria buffet, and he's like, "Huh, a burrito, huh?"
It's just like, yep.
Damn straight. I love that.
And they also read as like when it's like, oh, the partners are friends, but they are the like boyfriends. And
Yes,
that's like what it feels like.
Couples bringing their plus ones, and the plus ones have to figure out if they like each other.
And like Whomst has not been there. They sit down, and we reintroduce Amy, which
With a haircut.
I love that they make Xander say, "Oh, nice haircut." And Willow says, and I like that we have Willow say it twice in the scene to remind the audience that like we haven't really met Willow's mother when she's like, "Well, at least your mom's taking an interest." And Joyce says Buffy says how Joyce is completely wigging, and Ian, who enters the cafeteria.
That is going to be Joyce.
Yeah.
In her power suit.
Don't you feel like again with the like Republican vibes, like the way they like style her is very specific. I feel
that
like.
Blazer, she was waiting for a reason to wear that blazer.
Her hair's never been bigger.
Yes.
I'm going down to that school, and they're going to see this blazer and know this is someone who means business.
They're going to know that I'm a white woman who will persist on this.
Me and my art gallery are going to take the house down.
I love what Willow says here when she's like, well, at least your mom's taking an interest. And then she sees that her mom is standing there. And Ian, what does Willow's mom call Buffy?
Which we should call her for the rest of this episode. Bunny.
I fucking love the like casual, hi, Bunny. Like, we don't pause on it, but it's hilarious.
I think they should have used this actress more because like she's hilarious. Even when 100%. She's like full on evil later down the road in this episode, she's so funny about it.
Yeah.
Oh, and pack your coat. I said, get your coat, witch.
Yes. It's kind of fun seeing how Willow's mom is. Cause like at this point we know Willow pretty well. And I don't know. I like when we don't go with what you'd expect, because you kind of would expect Willow's mom to be like, I guess I would expect Willow's mom to be the parent she thinks she is. That she like, because she definitely is like one of those moms that probably would say she's very liberal and like, you know, she has her therapy speak and tries to like use progressive language more so than like Joyce would, but actually is like an asshole. And I'm always interested in those kind of characters. So yeah, I would have liked to see her pop up every once in a while or something. I think that would have been fun.
I mean, they had a decent amount of scenes where Willow is at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like throughout the show. So they definitely could have used her.
And I feel like if we're seeing her, then sure, then let's keep seeing her, you know?
Yeah.
And then the mayor comes in and gives a little bit of a speech. And I will say, I don't know if this makes sense, but I do love that this is his like only appearance in this episode, like doing mayor things, because we hadn't really seen that, right? Like prior to this, it's been like he's kind of plotting and scheming in his office, but this is like, oh, this is just something he has to do as a mayor. And like clearly we know the mayor doesn't give a shit about if a demon is murdering kids or whatever. So I like seeing him be like, yeah, this is a job I got to do. And also that like, not to be that person, but that like tracks for politicians, right? It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to like eat these like monster spiders and become invulnerable and like kill everyone in town. But oh yes, let's pretend to care about whatever the hell this thing is.
Well, when I was watching this, I was thinking like, does he know? Is he fully aware that this is actually a demon? And like, okay, I'll speak at this meeting because I can probably help push his agenda forward and to create chaos.
That's true. I could see it being either he like truly doesn't give a shit or that's what it is. Yeah.
And like we know the mayor's office kept track of the comings and goings of various baddies.
That's true. That is true. And then he has who come up and give a speech, Ian?
That is going to be Joyce.
Yeah.
Leader of the Moo.
So stupid, but such a good name. And she has the audacity to talk about the witches and the slayers, which one, like, what does everyone else think she's saying? Because, like, sure, witch, everyone knows what a witch is, but, like, just randomly putting in, and vampire slayers, right? Is like,
Right. And is the audience thinking like, oh, well, there are plenty of plenty of strange occurrences, but I didn't think witches. You're telling me there's witches? That's not what I thought this meeting was about.
God.
I thought we were doing a community watch.
That is true. Like, right? That's kind of, they probably all don't know. It's like, oh, kids were like harmed or like killed, but they didn't know it was like fucking monsters and witches or whatever.
Right. And there's no community Facebook page that they're all looking at and gossip.
Oh, they would, God, in 2023, all these moms and dads would have been fucking livid on that Facebook page.
Oh my God. Can you imagine if Sunnydale had a Facebook group? Oh my God.
God. Just imagining where all these, I saw this happen, and it's like, you don't even live in Sunnydale. What are you talking about?
There's a strange amount of dust in the cemetery lately. Has anyone picked up on that?
There was a gust of wind, and I swallowed a bunch of dust. What was that?
Anyone missing a sword?
And then we cut to Amy, Michael, and Willow doing a spell that we see is the symbol. And now that you've said it, Ian, I'm like, yeah, this should have been earlier in the episode. That would have been like...
Yeah.
I think that would have been, at the time of watching it, I think it really would have upped the angst.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, well, is it Willow? Like, did Willow do this?
Right.
Until it comes out that she didn't.
Yes, I think that would have been better pacing. Then we cut back to Sunnydale High, and I love that we see the jocks like roughing up Michael, which all of this just feels like they're gonna like call him something homophobic, right? Like I'm just like waiting for like one of them to be like, oh, gay boy, or like something like that, because it feels like that's what's going on. It feels like they're using witch to mean gay, which we then do in season 4, right? With Willow and Tara.
Yeah, literally.
So Buffy goes to look for Willow. I need both of your opinions. Ian, I'm gonna call on you first.
Yeah.
Because the Willow Xander storyline never lands for me. And I don't even like this where like Buffy goes to see Xander and she's like, where's Willow? And he's like, oh no, I wasn't with her. Why do you always think I'm with her? Blah, blah, blah. And like the whole cheating, the whole that, I'm like, ugh. But I'm curious what you think about that, like through line this season.
To be honest with you, it always felt creepy and weird to me. I always saw them as brother and sister.
Yeah.
You know, they used to pick out crayons together. I don't understand most straight relationships, but that one I definitely didn't understand at all. It didn't make any sense to me. It didn't make any sense ever, and it still doesn't as an adult. Yeah.
And it's not even like, oh, but they have really good chemistry. You're right. The chemistry even reads as like platonic, like family member, best friends. Yeah.
Cousins, you know, like it doesn't,
Yeah.
No.
But someone said this to me on one of the recordings. I can't remember who said it, but like, this is the only reason they're like, yeah, but they're like horny teenagers. So like, and Willow, at this point, we don't know this, but later we know she's like closeted. So maybe it's like, yeah, sure, I'll hook up with this guy because like, that's what straight people do. Or like, she's a horny teen. So sure, fine, whatever, because she doesn't care about the guys as much. So I can kind of read it that way. But Joe, what do you think?
No.
Oh, I always hated this whole plot line, but the fact is they did it and they couldn't just drop it.
That's true.
After the fact, because like that wouldn't be realistic to drop it. Like something like that is going to have reverberations.
That's true.
But I just always hated it because I felt like, okay, this is so obviously a way to push out Cordelia because they have bigger plans for her down the line.
Yeah.
And we need her to basically lose her tethers to Sunnydale so that it's a seamless transition. It's just like, ugh, this is so... I'm flashing back to the two of them making out when Cordelia first found them in Spike's prison area. And it was just like, ugh. Like, I'm as disgusted as she was.
You also ran off and fell through some steps. Willow and Buffy confronts Willow and she sees that she has like that symbol on her notebook. Allison Hannigan's delivery is really good here. And I think this is like kind of an iconic line when she's like, I do doodle, you doodle too. That feels like a whole mouthful. Ian, how many takes do you think that took?
With Allison, I bet it was one take. That was it. Her coverage, done. She nailed it.
And I kind of love Giles and Snyder because Giles, they fucking hate each other, but they know they have to deal with each other. And I like seeing, like, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like Giles is very sexy when he's being fucking protective and like ready to kill Snyder. It's like, oof, right?
But can we go back to the locker search for a minute? Because I wrote down a few things that were absolutely hilarious. Some of the stuff they were pulling out. There was voodoo dolls. There was a scuba flipper. There was a feather duster made style. There was just the most random things getting pulled out of these lockers. You know, at first there's that big garlic, but I was like, I paused and played everything that came out of there. They were the most ridiculous things. Why is there a scuba flipper in a teen's locker?
Listen, sometimes with this show, I do, and, you know, I say this lovingly because I love the show, but I do think sometimes they were like, what do we have in the props closet?
Sure, absolutely.
Right? Like,
just start throwing things, shove it all in the locker.
Yeah.
And just, when we say action, just like start picking them out.
Just pretend the scuba flipper makes sense in the locker. Keep going.
Nobody's going to see it.
Yeah. And so Snyder comes in and they're confiscating all the books. And Giles says, this is not over. And Snyder's like, I'd say it's just the beginning. And he tells Giles and Buffy they'll have to answer to Moo. And Buffy says, and who came up with that lame name? And Snyder says, and that would be the founder. I believe you call her Mom, which I think is such a good line.
I have a question.
Sure.
So they're confiscating these books in Giles's library and going into that caged off section. Mm-hmm. Are they just leaving the weapons?
That's true. I didn't think about that because there would have been weapons in there.
Their weapons are fine. It's the books.
Just the books.
They really are Republican.
Like, yeah, it's the late 90s. We're allowed to have weapons. We just don't want these books.
Crossbows and axes.
Yeah, we cut to Willow's house and she has a sit down with her mom. And I do love this scene. I think it has so many, right? And you're right, Ian, that like she's such a good actor because her and Allison Hannigan play off each other really well. Like she's delivering it straight. Allison Hannigan's more kind of like having Willow freak out a little bit and get more nervous. And the mom is like not really like stressed about any of it. She's kind of just like talking at her and being kind of condescending.
Quoting studies about teens. And I love it. Love it.
Yeah, I love that shit. And when she's like, you know, Mom, I'm not an age group. I'm me, Willow group. And I love also seeing her stand up for herself because at this point, we hadn't seen Willow do it too often. While they're arguing, she's like, I'm dating a musician. And that her mom goes, oh, Willow. Like, that's,
Willow.
Like, that's the thing that like really grinds her mom's gears. Like, a musician? Ugh.
I loved, do you see any goats here? No, because I sacrificed them.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. I just like seeing, you know, our girl Willow be like, no, fuck this, Mom. Like, you're a dickhead. And like, just fully going for it. And like, Willow we don't often see Willow having like lost her patience and like being pissed. And while she's still being more subdued about her, like her yelling isn't yelling, but I like that we see Willow's like last straw with her mom. And she's like, no, I don't care. Like, you know, fine. She'll lean into it. She'll be like, yeah, you think I'm this like evil witch? Yes, I'm sacrificing goats. Yes, I'm, you know, worshiping gods to fill me with their naughty evil.
Which is an interesting foreshadow because that's going to happen.
That literally will happen. Yeah.
We're going to get there.
But yeah, so we learn that these kids, it's like they come around to quote unquote die every 50 years to create chaos. It's a little like Pennywise from It is what I was thinking of.
And they introduce the point that fairy tales to a big degree are real and they just became this folklore, but they are based in real life, which is, I think, kind of like how you've said before, like Sunday was a prerequisite for Glory.
Yeah.
This was definitely a prerequisite for Hush.
Yeah.
They were definitely like, oh, you know what? This fairy tale thing kind of works.
Joe, oh my God, thank you for validating me. But yeah, then Willow gets interrupted by who, Ian?
Mommy dearest.
She's pissed that, what does she call it? The Cyber Coven?
Cyber Coven,
Which,
yes.
yeah, which feels like some weird term my dad would also, my dad is very big on anytime something goes wrong with like a login with his email or his Zoom, he'll say, I got hacked. I'm like, what do you mean? What does that mean? Tell me what that means. Like he just like, that's a word he heard on like the news once. And so he uses it. That could mean any issue with a computer or social media platform. Anyone you could think of, that's what falls under hacked for my father.
I thought you were going to say he says it's a witch anytime his computer. Goddamn witch.
He's Fox News crazy, but not maybe that crazy. Yeah, we see Willow's mom is like, she says she believes her and must let her go with love and locks the door. And this is when, for me, the episode really picks up because everything starts like being interwoven, like everything's happening at the same time, which I really appreciate. So like while this is happening, we see that, as you mentioned, Joe, they come to the conclusion that, as Oz says, fairy tales are real. And I like Buffy's Hansel and Gretel. Like she's like, what the fuck? And then Michael enters and says he was attacked by his dad and his friends. And he has like a bloody face, which is like even more brutal. And I feel, again, because it's him, it really feels like we're like hitting home the like queer aspect of this episode, right?
Oh, definitely.
And like somehow I feel worse for him, even though I get that like Willow's mom and Amy and Buffy, Willow, Amy, and Buffy are all about to be burned at the stake by their mothers, but it feels like Michael getting like genuinely like beaten feels like really like rough.
And his voice is very, very hoarse and like almost like up at like high pitched, like they came after me.
Yeah, like he's like legit terrified.
Yes.
And yeah, then you feel bad. And like, I of course always identify with the little the queer teen wearing all black. That was me. That's me at 40.
Eyeliner.
Yeah. I would look cute with some eyeliner. So they tell him to stay in the library. I kind of wish he would have gone with them, but he stays there, and we then go back to Willow's house, and the door is open to her bedroom, and she's attacked by her mom and a bunch of other adults in moo pins. Buffy and Giles arrive at the Summers home, and what happens, Ian?
The apparitions of the demons are able to hold chloroform bottles, and Joyce knocks out Buffy.
Yep, and the other parents chloroform Giles. I hadn't thought about that they're like ghost children holding chloroform. We see the kids talking to Joyce. They're like, we can stop them forever. We see Xander and Oz running through Willow's house. I genuinely love the Oz and Xander trying to help, but like really doing nothing all episode. Like they kind of just run around. They don't really help, but I like that it's like they're trying to.
Yeah, they're like 3 steps behind.
Yeah. And then we cut to City Hall. And Joe, what's going on at City Hall?
We've gone full Salem witch trial.
We have.
A la Buffy, Willow, and Amy inside.
I kind of love it being the 3 of them. I don't know. There's just like, I love everything about this. And then we cut back to the Summers home, and full disclosure, this is like genuinely one of my favorite Cordelia moments of either show. Like, right? Her slapping him, just being like, wake up. And
ow,
like
my hand.
Yes.
My hand hurts.
Everything Cordelia says here is great. I love when she's like, how many times have you been knocked out anyway? I swear, one of these times you're gonna wake up in a coma. And he's like, wake up in a never mind. The like pairing of the 2 of them is just so fucking good. And like Giles being over it, like he just woke up and he's already annoyed with her. She's already pissing him off. And also, Cordelia does wake up in a coma in season 5 of Angel. Wah, which I hate.
More foreshadowing.
Right? And I like that when he tells her so matter-of-factly that, like, they have to, help stop Hansel and Gretel. And she's like, the brain damage happened before I slapped you, right? Like, I really like when someone who maybe, like, at this point, Cordelia's like this, where she's like, doesn't really want to help, but she does understand that, like, she has to sometimes. And I just love that. I love a begrudging help. Cut back to City Hall. Oz and Xander have gotten in, but they encounter a bunch of people, and Oz has a really good line here.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, before they run, when he says, just so we're clear, you guys know you're nuts, right? And then they like run. I genuinely put in my notes, I put that quote down and then put Oz, my king.
Oh, it's such a good like hijinks scene.
Yes. And like, we don't see Oz get mad, right? So I like that. I mean, he is mad, right? But he's still Oz about it, where he's still like delivering that line calmly, but basically saying fuck you to these guys. Then we see Buffy waking up and they're all on their stakes. Joyce says a lot of mean shit here that like Buffy is for the entire series, Buffy is a better person than me because I don't know that I would have ever like gotten over this, or at least it would have taken me a while and I would have been like, remember that time you almost burned me at the stake and you said all this hateful shit to me about me being a vampire slayer? Because I do, even with the like selective memory thing they say the adults do, I would have reminded her of this shit.
This really brings back the metaphor for me of being gay.
Yeah.
Because I feel like these exact words would come out with your mom or your dad if you come out to them and they don't take it well.
Right.
And then they have a few drinks and say, I wanted a son to give me grandchildren and instead I got you.
Yeah, they definitely like do that too. Like they in this like Joyce and Willow's mom. What does Joyce say? This has been a really trying time. Like they put it back on them. Like this has been a really trying time. We should get lunch after this. Is that what it is?
Yes. I love that we should stay close, have lunch. And it's like, you're burning your children at the stake. And you're like, oh God, this was rough for us.
And she was like, that's sweet. You bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see some of my dad's family doing this. But we then get Amy, who is like, you want a witch? I'll show you a witch. And she turns into what, Ian?
She turns into a rat by the goddess Hecate.
And I love Buffy's like, she couldn't have done us first.
Just first.
Yeah. And another thing, like, you know, a reason we love the show, I love that she stays a rat for 3 fucking seasons and we don't forget about it.
And she's always like brought up.
Yep.
Well, I gotta go feed Amy the rat.
Yep. And she's in every season but 5. Which is always wild to me to be like, oh yeah, Amy like genuinely was a consistent character throughout the whole series. Except like season 5 is the only season she's not in. Like her, Jonathan, and Harmony were pretty like consistent across this, like of characters across the 2 series. I feel like they were pretty like consistently always there. Yeah. So Xander and Oz climb into the vents as we see Cordy and Giles speeding towards City Hall, doing a spell. He's having Cordelia do a spell to lift the veil. I do love the toadstone when she's like, this doesn't look like a toad. And he's like, because it's from inside of a toad. And she's like, ugh, I hate you.
Yeah, I love watching them together.
Yeah. And the thing and I mean, Buffy always looks great too. They all always look great, but I just like Cordelia in her like high fashion that's like ridiculous for a high schooler to be wearing and like having to do a gross spell with Giles. Like I love it. I love all of it. Buffy yells at her mother to say, Mom, dead people are talking to you. Do the math. And that's where I put, and I would never let my mother live this down forever.
It's so funny.
Giles and Cordelia arrive, and he pulls a pin out of her hair and picks the lock. I also love seeing Cordelia have to like smash the emergency glass and pull out the hose, right?
Oh yeah, she just elbows it. Like, good for her.
Yeah. I was like, fuck yeah, Cordelia. Yeah. She looks fantastic. Like, she's going to join in. She's going to save the day with a fucking hose.
If I have to be here, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go all the way.
I also love that in true Cordelia fashion, she's like, oh, I'm going to knock down all the people, but is not putting out the fire with the fucking hose. And Buffy has to yell, put out the fire. And she's like, oh, right. I genuinely just love everything here. Like I love, because it's like such chaos. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but like they're still in danger. I just love everything about it. So the kids merge into their giant demon thingy. And I don't know, did either of you notice, maybe you did, Ian, as the actor in the room, Cordelia's line delivery of, okay, I think I like the 2 little ones more than the big one is like very not Cordelia, but I like it, if that makes sense. I don't know what is different about it.
It made me laugh out loud. I totally forgot that line was in there. But you're
good.
right. It's not a Cordy line. It could have been
right.
an improv. Is her voice even in flux, right? I wrote that down.
Yes.
It changes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Her voice is so different.
Yeah. And I think there's like one time on Angel that she goes into that like weird different voice, like different cadence, but I'm into it. I do like that Buffy says like not as convincing in that outfit at the monster. And she pulls her stake off. She pulls the stake off the whatever it was tied to. And what happens, Joe?
It goes right through the demon's throat.
It's so,
which to this day I find so weird.
Okay, but the thing I always love is talking about delivery. Sarah Michelle Gellar's delivery of "Did I get it? Did I get it?" of like pure exhaustion is so good, right?
And then the drop at the same time.
Yes, and then like Xander and Oz dropping down below them, and Oz saying, "We're here to rescue you," but like realizing they don't need rescue. And Ian, I don't know if you know this, but I'm sure you agree. This podcast, there's not an episode that goes by where I don't talk about how good Sarah Michelle Gellar's acting is and how underrated she is.
Oh, she should have been a movie star in the 90s. 100%.
Right.
She should have been huge.
Yeah. I appreciate that like actors I've had on the show will still agree, because I'm like, is it just me being like a super fan? But even like other actors I've had on the show are like, no, she's great. Like, because I do, so, you know, you have been on one of my other favorite shows, The Magicians, and I do feel like there is a specific like commitment to being able to fit in those kind of worlds, right? Like to be able to do the silly and the serious, but also while like the action's going on and like there's magic and we're talking about monsters and we have silly names to say.
Yeah. I mean, I worked on a movie with Marcus Blucas, who played Riley.
Riley, yeah.
And all I did was talk about Sarah the whole time. I just kept asking questions and questions, and he has nothing but like the highest things to say about her. So
I fucking love that, because I was gonna, as you said, I worked with him. I was like, oh, were you able to talk Buffy with him at all? And then you were like, and that's all I talked about with him.
It's nonstop.
I fucking love that. I've heard nice things about him. I've been trying to get him on the podcast.
He's a gem. He's a great guy.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard of or read Evan Ross Katz's Into Every Generation. It's like an oral history of Buffy.
I haven't. No,
so my bragging is I'm also in that book, and I'm quoted within a page of Sarah Michelle Gellar, which is still bananas to me. But
yeah.
But Mark Blucas, he interviewed him, and he like very like, right, Joe, isn't it weird? He's kind of open about like, oh yeah, sometimes I wasn't that good at like hitting my mark, and Sarah Michelle Gellar was always good at hitting, like basically like talks about that.
Yes. When I read that, it just seems like he felt and still feels like an outsider.
Yeah.
Like not like, I feel like someone who was in the nitty gritty and felt interwoven really wouldn't speak about it the way. Not that he said anything bad. It's
right.
The way he would say things.
Yes, it's like, but you were a main character too. You were in the opening credits.
You were a huge part of this for 2 seasons.
Yeah, but I mean, also I can kind of get that feeling, right? Because no one really, there's not
right.
like Riley.
I'm sure he's read the fan boards.
Yeah. Which is funny because I feel like I was on a panel with Iari Limon, who played Kennedy in season 7, and she did not seem to know that her character is not that loved. Which, like, good, because I feel like that would be miserable to be like, wow, I like loved working on this show and everyone fucking hated me. Like, I would be very upset about that. So I'm good for her, right, Ian? Wouldn't you? I mean, you have been on fantasy shows, like, right, like that would suck.
Devastating.
Yeah,
ignorance is bliss.
So we wrap up with Willow and Buffy in Willow's bedroom. She says her mom doesn't remember much other than that she's dating a musician. So Alice has to come over for dinner. And they try to de-rat Amy, and Joe, what happens?
Nothing.
Yep.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing, because it does not work. I even like the music they play, where it like feels like it's swelling to something, and then it is like, nothing.
And like whatever's Willow's doing, like something happens, but
right,
not what we need to happen.
I do like that. Yeah, we end the episode with Amy's just a rat, and then she will stay that way for 3 seasons. Now that we're at the end, I have just a little bit of trivia. For this episode, Roger Morrissey portrays the Hansel and Gretel demon. He also played the demon that was Kathy's father in Living Conditions, which I always find interesting.
Oh.
When the camera pans out of Willow and Amy's coven, first revealing the symbol, there's like a weird demon laugh, and apparently it's a reuse of Kakisto's laugh from Faith, Hope, and Trick. I always find that stuff like
wow.
interesting.
That's cool.
And the guy who played Michael, Blake Sennett, and he's credited as Blake Swenson in the episode, is a member of the band Rilo Kiley, and their song is played in Older and Far Away in season 6.
He looks like he could be in a band.
Right, he does. He does, yeah. I mean, if like it looks like Ian might have had a crush on them when he was younger, Ian me, not Ian you, then yes, probably.
And it totally does.
Yeah. All right. Favorite outfit, Ian?
Well, I think you know mine. Mine is Giles in that beautiful 3-piece with that candy cane striped tie. It was beautiful. He was beautiful. It was perfect.
You know, fun fact, the costume designer from season 7, it was different than the rest of the season, said that he loved fitting Anthony Stewart Head and Robin Wood in like their like suit attire because they both wore them so well.
So well.
Joe, what's your favorite outfit?
My favorite outfit is definitely Cordelia. The night it all goes down at the end, when she's waking up Giles to the burning at the stake. It's like such a cute jacket. I feel like she was so ahead of her time. Like I would wear that now.
Yeah. And Joe, I feel like you might know what do you think my favorite outfit is?
Wait a minute, hold on. Your favorite outfit is probably, I don't know if I'm going to get this right.
You're already thinking too much. I feel like you're not going to get it right.
I'm like trying to picture what everyone was wearing. Was it Buffy's?
It was Cordelia's as well. It was the same one that you picked.
Oh, was it the same one?
Yeah, I fucking love that outfit.
Like she's like, and like it's just perfect.
I love the faux
fur.
The like faux fur collar is like so cute, but it's not too
cute.
much. It's like just a little bit
with her hair up.
Yeah, Charisma Carpenter has like great fucking hair. I mean, like most of them do, but her hair is like so thick that I feel like even when it's up, it's still so big, and I love that. Like I love an updo that's like big and can be, a little bit like, not that it's messy at all, but like there's so much hair that there's like hair sticking out a little bit from like maybe the sides.
Yeah, and she needed an updo for this episode. Like she couldn't be manhandling that fire hose with her hair down.
I think I might have even said that to Charisma Carpenter when we did our Insta Live, that she had like a beautiful lion's mane. Because she does. Favorite scene, Joe?
Oh, I think waking up Giles.
Yeah. Ian?
Yeah, I'm going to have to say Willow and her mom. Willow going through her teen angst and mom being so like solid and, come fill me up with black naughty evil. I love that scene. It's really good.
Yeah. See, but these are all good scenes. And I feel like I'm cheating because I have two. I have Cordy waking up Giles in the house, just as I love all of the lines there. But then also I love the end. I love the chaos of like Willow and Giles and Cordelia coming in, and they have like the hose, and then Buffy pulls a stake down and accidentally stabs the monster, and like her delivery of "Did I get it? Did I get it?" and then Oz and Xander falling right through as she's standing there with the thing stuck through it. It's like beautiful chaos. I love a chaotic scene done well, and I think that's what that is. What grade do we give this episode, Ian?
I'm giving it A.
Joe?
I think I'm going to give it a B-.
Oh, okay.
Because I do love me some David Boreanaz, and I would have loved to see more of him.
Fair.
Again, like for a good filler episode, yeah, I'd say a B.
Okay. I give it an A as well. I think like, I mean, I could say this about a lot, but Buffy always did filler standalone episodes so well.
Yeah.
Because like there are other shows that I've enjoyed that like sometimes it's like, all right, but get to the plot. Like whatever this like episode of the week is, I don't care. And Buffy always did a good job. And I think because of the ensemble cast, and we cared about them, we got to know them, and we were able to have them kind of involved in even the standalone. Like they they were all involved. It's not just like, oh, these new characters that I won't see again. So I think it's just such a good standalone.
It's hard to do 22 episodes. It's
you
really
know,
hard to do 22 episodes, and it's such a good season. So it's the fillers even get A's for me. It's a good season.
Yeah, I think, Joe, I'm sure you're tired of hearing this, but like we've talked so much about lately about like 22 episode seasons versus like the 10 episode seasons, and how like if you can do a standalone episode well, then a show does deserve, like they should be able to do standalone episodes well and like deserve to be able to do that. But like with Netflix shows, when they have like 8 episode seasons, it's like just has to be a long movie because we have to get the plot out.
Right. It really shows the skill at diversifying.
Yeah. Like I love Stranger Things, but Stranger Things does not have many specific episodes that I'm like, oh yeah, I would revisit that. It's like, oh, there's a cool story that happens and it's you revisit the whole season, which is not me knocking it, but you know what I mean? Like shows like that, even that are really good, don't really do like standalone. They're just like not done as much, I feel like.
Yeah.
This day and age, definitely not. It's a lost art, I think.
But thank you both for joining me. Thank you all for listening. Ian, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at fresh_Collins, or just type in Ian Collins in any social media platform and you will find me.
Nice. And Joe, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter, Joe with 2 E's, and my last name, CAROLLO, for any workout tips or skincare tips.
And Joe, you will see Joe and be like, yes, he could definitely give me tips on both those things. Also, Joe, I spell your name wrong every fucking time I spell your name.
It's okay. Everyone does.
Okay. All right. I was going to ask if that happened a lot because
it comes with the territory. That's why I spelt my last name instead of just saying Carollo.
Like I feel like I spell it wrong every single time when I have to type in your email. I'm like, why isn't his email coming up? Oh, right, I'm spelling his last name wrong. But all right, everyone. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.